Drawn Together. Imagine if there were absolutely no holds barred on a cartoon. Absolutely none. There's no particular episode of Drawn Together that is the most controversial. Just Drawn Together itself is the most controversial cartoon I've ever seen. Where to start? It contains grotesque murder, necrophilia, cannibalism, racist jokes, and lady parts that turn into massive tentacle monsters.
Is this beautiful?
It is so ruthless that it actually makes South Park and Family Guy look sensitive in comparison. But you know what? I actually heartily recommend Drawn Together. It's among my favorite animated shows of all time. It sets out to be the worst of the worst, but it also ends up being charming and meaningful throughout that controversy. What amazes me about Drawn Together is that you actually find yourself drawn into the characters' troubles. It is the most utterly vicious and ruthless cartoon ever made. It gleefully shatters taboos you didn't even realize existed, and it wallows in the worst of the worst, and mercilessly mocks anything in its path. The show is actually really clever in many of its messages. Like when they discover the racist Warner Brother characters of the pre-1960s locked away. It has a lot of very thought-provoking messages among the carnage and disturbing shock scenes. It is the most batshit insane cartoon ever made. But if you can tolerate that carnage, I definitely recommend watching the series at least once. As once may be all you can stomach. As I mentioned in my controversial cartoons video, I actually really like the Drawn Together series. True, it was gross and controversial, but it managed to use this gross humor to both shock and laugh, and in order to leave a lasting impact. And there was a sense of well-meaning behind its humor. The Drawn Together series. It's no mystery to me why Drawn Together is generally hated. It's black, it's needlessly crude, it's gory, it's cruel. But there's one big difference between it and Family Guy. Drawn Together is actually smart. A bit like Robot Chicken, it doesn't try to paint these characters as good or normal members of society. It knows it's bottom of the rung and embraces it so wholeheartedly you can't help but respect it. In something like Family Guy, these cruel, sadistic, evil characters are just treated as normal. This is how normal society is. But Drawn Together is so comically over the top that it's impossible to take it seriously. And the characters aren't painted as normal people. They're painted as psychopathic rejects of society. And I think that's one of the keys. There's humility behind its insanity. And beneath the cracks, there's an actual real human warmth to it. I also like the voices behind the characters so much. They just have such a ball playing these roles. And you can tell. Tara Strong, for example, Bubbles from Powerpuff Girls. She plays Toot. Imagine if Bubbles was possessed by a demon and then went on an eating rampage through Townsville. It's hard to think of another way to explain this wonderfully bad character. I personally find this cartoon charmingly cheeky, and I really enjoy it. That being said, this cartoon is not for everyone, and certainly not for under 18s. If you're over 18, I don't recommend one episode. I recommend half an episode. And if half an episode is too much for you, then walk away.